Good evening, all. Good morning, whatever it is, wherever you're at. This is another episode on Lone Oak Farms. Thanks for joining me for a little bit here as I visit about my family's farm, which was turned into a wonderful farming simulator map by Bullet Bill. Kind of like I've started some of these other videos, I thought we'd hop to the map first and take a look around and then compare it perhaps to some real life pictures. And I believe in the last video where we kind of left off, we were looking up the hill and seeing kind of what this angle looked like. And I mentioned putting in at the top of the hill up here in my own private modding on the map, putting in a composter that isn't there in real life. Bullet Bill didn't include that in the map. But now as we look north into this field up here, you'll see, just like in real life, there's a sign up here that in game this is pointing to some fictitious towns. I believe Bullet Bill, when he tried to put this together, I believe he was going to use the actual names that are here, but was told by the giants that he wouldn't be allowed to do that. So let's look at the real life picture of this. You can kind of see, and it was winter when I did this. The field up ahead was, bare dirt, it appears. So they were going to replant it this spring. But that's kind of where he got it. As I look at it here, it's interesting he chose to put the 11 mile away on top, whereas in real life that one is on the bottom. This farm is close to Silverton, and that's interesting. It's closer to Silverton, but it has a Salem address, I believe. But these are all the Silverton Hills kind of out here. And something I want you to notice too, not only is the color of the sign the same, but the font is too. So when you look at this font and color is identical to the road signs used here in real life. And it just goes to show some of the research Bullet Bill went to put this together. And sure enough, right next to it, of course, is a power pole, just like in real life. And we don't see the top of the pole here like we can, but that's exactly where it's placed because there's one there in real life. So kind of just looking ahead, that's to the north. Maybe we continue on in this journey. Oh, here's a picture of the power pole. We can, I guess, compare it to the one in the map and see that's got a cross brace kind of a little bit lower. Yep. And if you look at that, this once again demonstrates some of the research that he went to put this together. Seeing these little braces holding the wires, pretty dang good if you ask me. And I think I took a picture of it because he was interested in having someone model these for him for the purpose of the map. Here now is looking a little bit to the east, northeast. I think anybody that's been in the map is kind of familiar with this hill as it goes down over here. The lone oak tree is far to the right. We're on the northern end of the map. We're just changing the angle where we stood. We're standing on the road that heads up to the farm. This is Sunnyview Road out here. And you'll notice, see all these trees in here? How short they are? I believe they'd either been logged previously, and these are the replants, or they never had trees and someone put in some Christmas trees that are now getting a little bit overgrown. But once again, Bullet Bill, with his attention to detail, and we'll just go take a look at it, chose to put a bunch of short trees in here. And that's what we have. But in looking at it from in game, if we were to stand here in this particular driveway kind of about here, this is what we see in real life. Now, something you don't see here in real life, based on the angle, is you don't see Mount Hood. If we return to the map here, we can kind of see the tip Mount Hood. Well, some of that you got to bear in mind. I think it was just poetic license. That's approximately where it is. But in real life, the shape of the hills and whatnot prevents you, I think, from seeing it at this angle. But we do get a good picture of what this hillside looks like, and it's a pretty rugged hill. There are areas on here that aren't farmable because there's rocks and snags and with the trees and whatnot there. So Bullet Bill once again captured that in his map. So moving along to, this is taking a look south now, and this is the road heading off of Sunnyview. There's 117th Avenue. You keep going up through here, and eventually you'll come to the turnoff to Lone Oak Farms. So this obviously is in the map. If we just take a swing around here, this is the view looking up here. Obviously the lighting's a little bit different, but that's kind of what he had in mind. And when I was a kid, it seems like a lot of these country gravel roads, what they would do, years ago it was gravel clear to the pavement. Then they realized that as cars would come rushing down here, there'd be a lot of dust and dirt that it would throw onto the main road. So they started paving them, maybe out to kind of where I'm pointing with the mouse here, so that the dust and dirt would kind of stop here, and then the car would eventually come out to the road, and there wouldn't be as much crud get on the road, I suppose. But this here, I think he chose to have it kind of paved all the way through. As I look at my picture here, yeah, I can't really tell. It may be paved up around the corner. I I don't even recall, but I remember as a kid, this was definitely all gravel. Let's take a look at another picture. It looks like I duplicated it. This is kind of south east, kind of across that pasture. We already looked at it up north. In the map, of course, this would kind of look like so. And the hillside over there looks a little barren from here, and some of what's going on is trying to preserve gaming resources. So if you go over here closer, you're going to see a whole lot more trees, of course, show up. So the view, of course, is going to look a little bit different, as we settle kind of in this corner here than what it does in the real life picture, which shows, of course, all the trees over there. That's what it looks like. We'll look at another one. Of course, that's a stop sign showing the roads. We've already seen what that is, kind of that angle. Another one just before the road up there. Then this, I must have stopped kind of in the middle. This is again, this is winter. It's a common foliage that we have here, these briars and whatnot across along the roadside. Kind of a pain in the neck. I don't know that Bullet Bill built any of that into the map. I mainly took a stop here just to look across here, the ravine. If you look up here, clear up on top, this is Lone Oak Farms up here that you see kind of up here at the top there. The pond is just over here. The lone oak tree is up here on top, which we wouldn't be able to see. These trees are in the way. And even if these trees weren't there, there'd be other trees in the distance kind of in the way, preventing us from seeing it. This hillside here was recently logged at the time of the picture. I think Bullet Bill chose to populate it with various trees, but I think he left it a little sparser than normal, and he did put a road kind of up in here just to show um, that the area is slightly different than some of the others. The owner of the property, for whatever reason, chose to log it not that long ago. So, like if I try to get something similar, I'd be down around here, maybe ish. And yeah, there's our home base is way way up here, and we can't really see it until we get closer. Then the buildings start to show up, with the clip distances that we have in there to preserve the gaming resources. That's another thing that you notice the really good mappers do. They don't just put stuff in the map without considering the player's uh, performance. Because if you have too many objects and the game engine doesn't care where it is. For example, if you're sitting here in game And these trees kind of form a wall. To the player's perspective, you don't really care what's on the other side of those trees because you can't see it. Well, to the game engine, even if you have objects on the other side of these trees, they might still be rendered because the clip distance put on them says, well, we should be able to see them wherever the player is, currently. So it's the really astute mappers that take the time to figure out, what direction you're looking and whether or not something needs to show at any particular spot. And so they can kind of play with those to help ensure that the game renders only what is absolutely necessary. And where that starts to show up is in the frame rate. If you don't have a very powerful computer, it helps you run a map that has a lot better visuals than it maybe otherwise would. Whereas if the mapper did none of that, you wouldn't be able to hardly run the map at all. And it's one of those things that I would say is probably a very boring part of modding. It isn't very exciting because it's tedious and it takes time and it isn't the creative part. Everybody wants to do the creative fun part, which would be putting in the fields, putting the objects in, and that part's fun. But dealing with objects and clip distances is a lot of tedium, or can be. But appreciate those mappers like Bullet Bill who pay attention to that kind of thing. So let me go back to my pictures. And what's this? Oh, okay. Let's go back to our map. You see this? This is where Bullet Bill put a dealership. So let's go to the map. We continue on to the end of this road. And I think I got up here right where I think I parked my car somewhere in here at this road. And so we all in games see a Case International uh, dealership here or shop where we can purchase tractors. In real life, I know I've mentioned this in other videos, there is no such thing here. I can't tell you how many times I've driven through here though, and expected I would see the dealership right on the corner, Manning's of Lone Oak, and it's just not there. This is what you see in real life, which is just a bare lot. Appears someone was doing some wood cutting over there. There isn't even a house. It's, yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's just kind of a scrub piece of property that they really aren't doing anything of, and it doesn't look very pretty. So, actually, it'd be kind of nice maybe if they had this right here, because then it would look halfway decent. But we don't. And on the other side of the road, I think we all know that looks like there's a little cafe in there to dress that up. And just a little bit over here, there's a place to sell animals, kind of an auction over there, if you will. And then there's a sell point for grains, and there's a BGA just right up at the top of the hill here. In real life, of course, there is none of this. And so, like all these bins, I mean, in real life, here's what it looks like across the road. It's a nursery. I don't know if I had any more. That's straight ahead. Yeah, it's looking down the road. I guess I don't have many pictures of it here. So it's a little business in here. It's kind of, there's some nursery stock areas kind of around here where they sell plants. And has nothing to do, obviously, in the way that it's set up in game. But most players expecting to see a BGA, expecting to see or have a sell point. Obviously you got to plug all that into a map. So this is where Bullet Bill decided to put it, and it's as good a place as any. And obviously, there's no cafe. It's just kind of right along the road. There isn't any food selling type place up here. And over the top of these hills, or trees rather, there is no auction. I didn't drive up here. There is actually what's known as a little grange hall. Back in the day, there was a grange up here, Farmer's Grange, and now it's just kind of there's no grange anymore. They just kind of rent the building out. I know we periodically have had a few family functions in it. So, so yeah, quite a bit different than in real life. And if we kind of just look at a couple other pictures, this is looking straight ahead. Remember that sign we saw lower down the hill? So once again, Bullet Bill has duplicated this, but of course the Giants asked him to be non-specific as to towns. And I'm not sure why. Lone Oak Farms, it is the name of the farm, Anybody with even a monkey's intelligence can Google it and look it up on the internet and can pretty well find exactly where it is. But I guess that's what the Giants asked him to do. And once again, it's a nod to friends of Bullet Bill, maybe those that were somehow instrumental in making the map or other projects. Eustace. Who hasn't heard of Eustace Farmer? If you've been part of the farming sim YouTube world, Eustace Farmer, of course, is the same as Atomic 67, who's the one that has helped me so much on all these videos and got me into YouTubing, I guess I would say, and helping me with just with loads of stuff. I really appreciate all his help, and I think these are other fellow YouTubers or modders. So maybe with that, I realize I've already chowdered up another 15 minutes. I if it's of interest to people, I guess this is kind of how I'm choosing to set these videos up, just to show you a little around the area as to what it's like, and to show how much Bullet Bill based it on reality, in terms of how he put all the pieces in. And there's areas where he had to make some artistic compromise to get it all to work, but just did an outstanding job. I can't say that enough. So why don't we hop in game? And the last I recall, I think we had finished fertilizing. And yep, I didn't even put the tractor away, so we'll do that here in a second. And we'll go out to the field. He is still plowing the soil, if you will, with a chisel plow. Somewhere down the line, I may try to show pictures of equipment that we use on the farm at some point here. I know I've already mentioned the windrower that I purchased, was quite a bit different from the one, I was trained on, which was a simple little self-propelled, no cab, John Deere 800. We may have had an 830 too. 830 also. Um, anyway, we'll let him do his thing. Meanwhile, we'll take this over and we'll get it put away kind of in the barn. And I gotta say, this kind of shows, I don't have a very strong PC. So I am stuttering a little bit. Be curious what 15 FPS. Can you imagine doing a video at 15 FPS? I must be crazy. So I'm gonna pull this back here. Set that off for now. But now what I'm kind of interested in is picking up some rocks, and I'm trying to remember if we happen to have a tipper of some kind. I thought we did. Well, we got that. Well, maybe we don't. We have this. Sell. Don't want to sell it. I wonder where it's sitting though. Let's for the moment park that. Maybe I can haul it on here. This isn't going to be technically correct. But I'd like to find, maybe it's in this other shed over here. We'll just drive on around here. See if it's in this other shed. When I worked on the farm, they didn't have this lower shed. Aha, there it is. They didn't have this. This was added later on, and you can kind of see by the solid walls that what they did in here is this is a place where they can store seed. So a lot of times during harvest, and I have some footage of this, I was up there recently for a harvest, they put kind of a field auger out here, and they stick the output end into the building, and then they dump trucks kind of out here, kind of where the nose of this truck is sitting, and the seed, and then they can use a telehandler or some kind of machine to push the seed back in there for bulk storage. And then as they clean it, and in real life, instead of those bins over there, what they have is a grass seed cleaner that's in a warehouse. They would move the seed out of these bunkers in here and they would haul it over to a pit. This large bin, the nearest one, in real life right there's a deep pit that they can bulk dump seed that will then, auger it into the building to run it through the cleaner. So once they empty out all these bins in here, they can then stack the clean seed. They bring it out on forklift. But for the moment, I just want to haul this trailer out, and I'm looking for something here. Okay, so we have it. I'm using the rock spawn mod in here, and rock auto loading and auto unloading is on here, and we'll use that out in the field. Perhaps this isn't a device that we would use. I mean, there's never been a Flegel trailer on the farm. Maybe at some point I'll get just a lowly Brantner, however you say it. But somewhere in here, we need a place to dump rocks. And I'm not real sure what would be a good place. In real life, I don't know that they have a particular rock dump near the farm. They do have one kind of over by their canyon. So if they have any rocks that are dug up in the fields, a lot of times we would haul it over there. But that's just off the map on the far western side. So maybe what I'll do, why don't I just try to put one in. Like if I go to placeables, I think I made one for this version of the mod to put in rocks. Aha, here we go. Cost us $1. See if I can turn it a little bit. Yeah, it isn't liking it. Not sure why. Oh, it'll let you put it over here. It could be it. Maybe with our truck there, it's having difficulty finding a place to put it because it's checking for whether the space is free. So we'll just move him back a little bit and see if we can make space. We'll just hop out of there. There we go. Yeah, so now it's letting us put one there. The trouble is the ground isn't very flat. So, you know what? That's probably gonna work. Let me just put it right there. Cost of $1. Yeah, that isn't the best. You see the marker there kind of hanging up in the air, and the only thing we have here is noting that the rocks are here. So, but you know what? I think that'll be good enough for our purposes. And it's pretty common. The farms up in this area, most of the farmers have had to deal with rocks for decades, so you gotta have a place to put them when you dig them out of the field. And like I say, I don't think this is one that they would have in real life, but it's probably a place where they would dump rocks if they had them. And I think their rock dump over in the canyon is close enough that they would choose to take it there versus dumping them here. Because this is main farm site, so if there is future building plans or what have you, maybe they would prefer not to have those in the way. So once you start stacking them there, then you got to deal with them. Now, on our handy little map, one of the things I tried to build into the mod this time was a hotspot that shows the location of these rocks. so we can see them kind of on our little PDA map. And here's one over here. Probably to totally do this all right, I should get out. This isn't exactly realistic, because probably in real life I don't know that I could lift and pack a rock this big. Let me see if I can chuck it up. Oh, nope. Yeah, see, I don't know if it's even gonna let me. We would typically have, there we go, I got it in there. We would typically maybe have a front end loader of the tractor. There it is, sitting in the back. We can go now pick up these others. So we spend a lot of time in the field, and what we had out there typically was a 4020 John Deere tractor with a front end loader, and that was the device we would use to pick up a lot of these and then use to dump into a trailer. Oh, get in, good lad. Okay, that one hopped in. Actually, I think there's another one right up here. We'll just go up here to grab it. I even tried, these rocks, they come straight from the Giants map. Most of them, these nicer looking ones here, they're the ones that created the models. And I think a lot of them were kind of big initially, and I tried to make them a little bit smaller, and I tried to apply even a shader to them so that they showed dirt on the sides versus the green bit, if you will, which I think was moss. So 3 rocks in here. We'll head over the hillside and go get them. I feel so strong lifting these rocks. I don't think I ever could do this in real life. And this is so steep across here, I don't know that you would take a big semi-truck like this across the way, and you for goodness sake wouldn't do what I'm about to do, which is grab a rock and throw it uphill into a trailer. A couple summers ago we had some hay that I was helping my dad with, and it was on a really steep hillside. We were doing it, and some kids drove the trailer down alongside it and were expecting us to pitch the bales uphill, and I kind of informed them that if that's what they wanted, they should do it themselves, whereupon they moved the trailer to a more commodious spot to harness gravity. So there's a couple rocks there. I think we got several over here we'll go grab. And I gotta say, I know I've mentioned this before, I think one of my favorite parts of this mod is simply the ability to turn it off. When you get tired of dealing with rocks, it's one of those you can still have in the mods folder, and when you have a hankering to mess with the rocks, you can turn it on, and the rest of the time you can just leave it off. I know there's been some talk, I remember when I was developing the mod, there was some folks that maybe wanted a type of a trigger, where it seems like steep ridge lines, oops, that's gonna fall out. There's no way I could pitch these rocks in real life. My goodness. I'd have to be built the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think there's one on the other side, maybe here. But there was some talk of where a mapper could build into the map kind of where they wanted rocks to appear. And at the time, it was all I could do to figure out how to script this mod, let alone, figure out how to put it into a map. So this here is just, it's the rock spawning script affixes itself to anything that calls itself a cultivator or a plow. So it's kind of indiscriminate. Whenever the plow is, or cultivator is doing its thing, it will dig up rocks periodically based on the algorithms. But to set it up on a hill, you really could, that anytime it's worked, and when a tractor and a cultivator comes through, you could set it up so that on a particular ridge, it would periodically spawn a rock or whatever as it comes across. I've just never chosen to figure it out that way. For me, it's good enough kind of as it is. And as you look at our map, I think we have all of our rocks picked up, so we'll keep from damaging our equipment as we eventually bring it back over here. I think after we're done ripping it up here, this with this uh, plow there, the chisel plow. Let me see, do we have a cultivator? I don't know if we do. Oh, sure enough we do. Vogelnewt. How much does it take? 180 horse? 145 horse. Yeah, so maybe it could handle, this one could handle that. But I think we'll still keep our New Holland going. And once again, I'll try to show some pictures at some point for the field cultivator. I mean, they have a much larger one now than what that little Vogelnewt would be. Back in the day, they had, what was it called? Something like a Vibrashank. I don't know if that was just the brand name of it, but I don't care what kind of shank it was. I mean, it could dig up rocks as you please. So I think as we drag the cultivator over this, we'll continue rock digging because, well, there's just rocks everywhere in the soil here in real life, so we'll be digging them up in game here also. And it's possible this tractor will dig up another rock, so we'll just kind of park him here and let's head out to the, well, maybe take this over so we try to be a little quicker about it. Probably in real life too. Whoops, I must be auto-saving. Probably in real life too, the tractor would have massive duals on it. And as you can see under eye of control, we have our differential lock on and all that. So just to get every shred of traction, you know, with the horsepower that you could while going on the hill to keep it at a reasonable speed. So maybe with a little luck, he won't burp out another rock, and we can be done picking rocks till we bring the cultivator in. You know, it's interesting to me too to know the different styles of farming around the world. You know, this is fairly common actually in these hills. You'll see a field cultivator or a chisel plow at work for some of the deep ripping. They've already commented that it's very rare to see a multboard plow up in these hills. You will see a conventional plow, multboard, down in the valley further where there's the richer soil, but you just don't see it very often, you know, up in these hills. It's some other mechanism for tillage. But it's interesting too the way the Giants made this game. There's really only two types of tillage that are allowed for. You know, you either plow or you cultivate, and that's it. I think it's 17 they did bring in a roller, but really the only purpose of the roller is to reduce the particular area rolled to its original texture that's under the field. So you can use it to trim up corners and whatnot. I don't know that it really has any other purpose, you know. Whereas in real life, you know, you'd use a roller for smashing rocks in or smoothing out a field. But you just don't get to see that texture. Oh, look at that. Right as we finish, he puts out another rock. And that's okay. So I am going to call this episode here, I think. And I'll maybe try to, let me see if I can get a different angle at this. Well, regardless, you don't need to watch me make my screen print here to put on a thumbnail for this video. So I'll just call it here. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.